Week of Discovery, Episode 3. They want to require universal health care, which still treats people for profit, which continues the incentive of keeping people sick or potentially rations health care, leaving you to die. I, on the other hand, want to release the forbidden biotechnology that could make everyone near invincible like Captain America and make sickness and injury a thing of the past. They want to keep you dependent upon government. I want to make you so independent and powerful that no person or government could ever control you. Essentially, I want to give everyone the equivalent of God mode, and that's a reference to the cheat code in the video game Doom. Experiencing God mode in Doom was a clue that there was a simple way to provide unlimited abundance simply with typing in a special code. Do you not think there are people on this world that have the God mode cheat code? Originally, only a few people knew the code and would prevent others from learning it. I want to publish the code so it can be enjoyed by all. Once people can generate anything they want on demand and be physically invincible, an entire new world opens up. A world without dependency on anything. This will then cause people to seek out the experiences they wanted to have without the need of depending on someone else or the government. Once everyone has absolute abundance and invincibility, it will eliminate the following: inequality and poverty, violence. If you can't hurt someone, what is the point of fighting? Whining and complaining. Nothing is preventing you from doing anything in my world. You'll be invincible. Do you think this is far-fetched? Do you think this is impossible? Ask yourself, have you ever seen a CEO with a cold or low energy? And if you did you ever see it twice? How does Donald Trump have all of the strength, energy, and stamina he does when he eats fast food, doesn't exercise, and only sleeps 2 to 4 hours a day? Do you not think experiments and research haven't been ongoing by the government, DARPA, the military for decades to create super soldiers? You want to know why they don't release the info? Because once you enable these features for people, they are no longer controllable. Think Superman. Think Transformers 4, the Transformium. Think X-Men Days of Future Past, where the government didn't trust the mutants because they didn't control them. But then they obtained Mystique's blood, her DNA, and created controllable clones. Think Vibranium from Black Panther. It was the abundance technology. The Vibranium enabled Wakanda to have technology undreamable. We should start asking our politicians, what are you doing to help produce abundance for all mankind and make it impossible to involuntarily govern us? The next time you hear a leftist or socialist tout how great their system is, ask them how they plan to go about providing limitless abundance for all. Ask them if they're into controlling people or liberating people. They'll probably say liberating at first, but once you probe them further, you will find that they're into controlling people via poverty. They all want to be just a little bit better than everybody else, even though they claim equality for all. Equal misery. Start thinking of total freedom and what it would take. I've narrowed the abundance technology needed down to these 3 things. 1. An abundance energy source like water to power vehicles and buildings and to reduce the price of manufacturing and distribution of goods to near zero. 2. The biotechnology research about the functions of all of our physiology to provide invincibility and eternal life to where we voluntarily discorporate for death instead of it being forced upon us through disease and pain. 3. Star Trek showed us the key to our societal evolution is the replicator, which we see examples of with the 3D printer. But the 3D printer that we see is a decoy. Most of the products we've purchased the past 50 years came from a version of a 3D printer and automated assembly line. Abundance is the key. As an American, you've known abundance your entire life. Your store shelves were always filled up. Every store had merchandise. It was examples of abundance disguised as artificial scarcity. The artificial scarcity was your lack of money to purchase all that you wanted. The abundance was obviously in front of you, but you simply didn't have enough money. But the products were there. The lack of money caused you to believe in scarcity. Join with me by spreading these ideas of unleashing the abundance and ending the restrictions of artificial scarcity, and create a grand, abundant future for all, where all are free and no one is capable of controlling others. Whatever happened to educational video games and TV programs and movies that actually taught you stuff? In the 80s, I remember there was tons of educational video games. In fact, as kids, for us to get video games, we used to try to convince our parents that, oh, hey, this is an educational video game. Battle of Olympus, Anticipation, Word Munchers. Obviously, everybody remembers the Oregon Trail, Snooper Troopers, Sherwood Forest. So yeah, but there's no more educational video games now. And you would think that would be a genre. You know, when you look in genre, you see action, puzzle, first-person shooter, RPG, arcade, turn-based games, but there should be a section that says educational. How is there not? Just all those old educational games like Word Munchers and Number Munchers should have been continuously ported and reported like Pac-Man has been throughout all time. There's no educational genre in gaming. How is that? Like, when I say that, I mean like on PlayStation, Xbox. I'm sure on a PC you can play whatever you want, but I'm just saying on console gaming. And same with television. There used to be like educational access. I don't know if there's any educational channels on TV anymore. Not that anybody even watches TV anymore, and especially when you just go to Khan Academy or other things on the internet. But you would think out of the 800 channels, one of them would be dedicated to education, and it's not.
Who's to say what happens when you go pull a lever and they say, oh yeah, we counted the votes and there's this and who knows what goes on, man? I know, but have nothing. Hey, Chief, you have nothing to do with any of it. Any of it. There's some cats that run this thing. Nah, I'm not doing this, and a lot of people are gonna say, oh, he's crazy and rock the vote and all that. But there are a bunch of cats that run this planet, and they just wait on the higher power to handle things.
The world always was. I've mentioned this a couple times in my Question Reality series, but this is such a hard concept to grasp, that the world always was. You know, we're so used to thinking of the Big Bang Theory or other origins of the planet, origins of planets, origins of stars, or, you know, the history of the universe when the dinosaurs lived. But I'm starting to think we're in a realm, and that the world, there was no beginning and there is no end. This realm, this world always just was. It just always was. It's hard to, it's the Alpha and the Omega. It was the beginning and the end, but it's not a beginning and it's not an end. It just always was. And our minds are so used to watching things born and die, or created and destroyed. I'm saying, imagine it's not even a planet, and that it doesn't rotate, and that there's no shape. It's just this infinite plane, and there was no beginning and there was no end. It just always was. What is the purpose in other dimensions? You know, on Earth, as humans, we ask, you know, what's this life for? We assign temporary tasks to discover before we are done, but there is a great beyond. And what's that all about, and why? And does that have an end? And so what is heaven made up of? We have our world and all, and its properties, but what is the beyond? And I recently just completed the series called The Good Place. It lasted for 4 seasons. The last season got a little bit woke, but it was a great show. I think the guy that did The Office created this. I recommend it, The Good Place. The last 2 episodes, you might just want to go all the way to the end, season 4, the last 2 episodes, and just watch those, because I mean that it all comes down to that. Although I don't know if it has the same impact if you don't watch all the seasons. It's the statement of, okay, so you're in heaven, you have everything you want, now what? How long does that keep you entertained? 800 years? 2,000 years? What happens when you've done everything? What do you want to do then? And all you want to do at that point is just no longer exist. So, yeah, I guess that's the end game. Is you come, you do your thing, you have your time, you don't need more, and then you don't.
Again, we all chose to be here. Like, you know, you're gonna be alive when the most incredible, and again, not necessarily good in the beginning or whatever, good, bad, whatever, the most incredible change that the human race is going to go through in the shortest amount of time, you're going to be alive while this is happening. This is a
pendulum. Why does it swing and who controls it? I'm referring to the political pendulum. I had a guy I knew who was wiser than me. He once told me, hey, listen, back in like 2005, hey, listen, John, relax, buddy. Listen, the pendulum, it swings one way, and then right when it gets a little bit too crazy, it then swings back the other way. And right when that gets too crazy, it then swings back the other way. And I've watched it ebb and flow throughout my lifetime. He was older than me. Now, who controls that? Because I don't believe anything is a natural course of events. So who is controlling these swings? I mean, you could poke your guesses at it, but I just don't like engineered society. I want everything to be natural, grassroots, real, not astroturf. And we're just nonstop being engineered, whether it's a drip nurture campaign or whether it's a psychological operation, whatever it is, they get a swing. And the reason why I ask who controls it and who's doing this is so we can stop falling for the pendulum swing. But make sure you don't fall for it once it swings a little bit to the right, just like center right, and then let's put a stop to it. Get collectivists to have to speak their own opinion. This should be on politics, but I've noticed one of the things I do now when I'm engaging with people that are hostile is instead of making declarative or imperative sentences, I provide interrogative questions. I just ask them questions because generally speaking, if they're against my politics, their whole thing is coming from the television. And you can't tell them that because somebody's already told them that and they don't believe it. They can't imagine that they've been lied to. They just can't. So I try to ask them questions to look into themselves. But through this process, when it comes to like real deal leftists, they can't answer simple questions. And then when it comes to like normies, they don't have their own actual opinion. You know, people that have their reality spoon-fed to them by the mainstream media. It's so remarkable. When I try to pin them to provide their own perspective, they always issue me a link or they make a reference or they always refer back to the establishment. And I'm like, look, dude, I'm not asking you to cite your source. I'm asking you to take an individual specific position, even an opinion, but it's got to be your own and you got to stand by it. And this simple concept is, they can't do it. They can't do it. They can't issue me their own opinion. So then, you know, this is the kind of stuff that opens up the concept of NPC. And, you know, people say, oh, it's real mean to call somebody an NPC. And it's like, well, when I can't extract a basic individualized answer from somebody where they always refer back to an authoritative source, and I say authoritative with quotes, it makes me wonder, are they a real person? Why can't they provide an individualized, and when I say individualized, I mean that in opposition to the collective. There's some people that can't stand on their own 2 feet. They can't even have their own opinion. They could only have the established view, and that's what they back. All right, now all these slides are old. Ironic plot twist. Mark the Martyr. This is before Mark made the threads. So Mark Zuckerberg may have saved us all from Surrogates, the movie, by having Meta fail so abysmally. But then I encountered this guy who said he was part of some experiment. He said, like, dude, the metaverse, it's not the Oculus, it's not the virtual reality headset. The metaverse is being installed all around us. And that's where all the money's going to. Yeah, and they're making it look like Facebook's failing and that Oculus is failing. but all that money is being used to install like an actual metaverse all around us that we don't know is going to be there. Kind of like at the end of Silo, where they can manufacture the illusion and get you to see whatever they want you to see. Look at the results from laws that were passed, but especially of big budgets that were passed. All right, so the only time we hear about laws and budgets and bills and money getting passed, we only hear about it leading up to the actual vote. But after the votes occur, does anybody ever evaluate the spending? What did we get out of it? Was it worth the trillions of dollars? So nobody evaluates I mean, maybe they are. I don't know where it is, but there should be like, hey, let's look back at this budget package, at this stimulus package, at this infrastructure package, whatever it is, whatever money that gets spent, it should be evaluated openly and show what worked, what didn't, what succeeded, what failed, what didn't get done, blah, blah, blah. No pain, no gain. If it bleeds, it leads. Never let a crisis go to waste. All these sound a lot to me like it should be in politics, but whatevs. It's in Week of Discovery. And I guess what I'll say with this is there's a phrase, and it's, the issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. So don't get twisted in the details. All right, the BCU. I made a long video about this. I'm going to spare you guys. Basically, there's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a Bible Cinematic Universe? And I thought that when the movie Exodus came out, Exodus, Gods and Kings with Obi-Wan Kenobi, I thought that was going to be the start of like the Bible Cinematic Universe, and it never happened. And there's a bunch of other movies, The Passion of the Christ. But I was thinking like make it really cool, make it really cool with film titles like The Nephilim, Angel Wars, The Essenes, The Serpents, The Angels Amongst Us, The Demon Within, Elohim's, Ezekiel's Wheel, stuff like that. Make them cool. I remember there was a movie called The Prophecy with Christopher Walken. It turned into like a series. I never saw any of the other ones. I saw part one. I saw like a 96. I thought that was a pretty cool movie. I think more of those should get made. I think people would be interested in that. Are there any conspiracy theories on how the fappening happened? Sopranos, Columbus historical character. I was watching this episode of The Sopranos, and Tony was arguing with Syl. And Syl it was the Columbus Day episode. And Syl kept talking about Columbus, and Tony says, Columbus happened so long ago, he might as well be a fictional character. Thought, fictional historical characters. All right, sharing story, that's going to have to happen another time. Anthem, it's a good book. It's been turned into an animated series on YouTube by the Atlas Society. Go check that out. It's really good. I mean, all right, here's why you should watch it. It was made in 1930, and when you watch it, you'll swear it was just made like this year, mocking stuff that's going on now, but it's almost 100 years old. And we're living through a repeat of that book. And it was like 1984 before 1984. Sanctity of Life, yeah, the con of act. Okay, here's one. The con of actors describing their art. One of the things that always bothered me and still bothers me to this day, is when you see actors talking about their character and their art as if like they're the only ones that have a special job. And I wonder what it really means when you see these actors say, oh yeah, I really had to get into the character and the art, and when they get into that, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, what is being communicated here? What is this? Elizabeth Bathory. I don't even remember what that was. Somebody mentioned it. I don't know. Perhaps I should look it up, but no time. Aging is a disease. I heard this guy on Joe Rogan, and I think he said that the real deal anti-aging technology won't come out until aging gets classified as a disease, because then I guess some kind of stipulation on the way they bill for it can happen. So that's what needs to happen, I guess, for us to get anti-aging stuff. Tree roots, parallel economies, educational video games. All right, well, tree roots, don't remember what that was. Parallel economies. Basically, every New World Order company should just get reproduced by, regular people. The reason for this exercise is to find out for everybody if the rules of supply and demand, profit and loss apply to the big corporations. Because I see so many companies that they just stay in business forever. I never see anybody go into their companies, and yet they're still open all over the place. So I say let's reproduce every single one of these businesses to find out if they're actually operating under the same rules as everybody else is operating under. And the people's companies should show all their results so that everybody can see, like, all right, so this is what it actually takes to run this. And then compare it against the big companies and say, all right, this isn't working for us. How is it possible that it's working for you? How are you turning a profit? How are you staying in business? What do you know that we don't? What are you not sharing with us? So every business that's out there, reproduce it with the people's version. Make every aspect of it transparent so that everybody can learn how to start their own business, and make it all, and report all of it, where you get all your supplies from, how the pricing, everything, and then force the hand of the big companies to say, all right, now you guys show us how you did it. Is the bank thing fake, or were we going through a stress test? And this was a couple months ago when all the banking stuff happened. These are all old slides. And when it was going on, I was like, oh, man, I wonder if this is like a stress test, like COVID. Was COVID a fire drill for pandemic preparedness in a real world test run? Think about every video you've seen on the bank failings. Nearly all of them mention theoretical stress tests. And so are we going through a real world bank stress test exercise with like failing banks to see how to recover from them? I just don't buy it. Also, be careful on who you get financial advice from on the internet. So I looked up what banks are using the quantum financial system. Major financial institutions, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, and HSBC are poised to become the most enthusiastic users of quantum computers. Who are the early adopters of quantum computers? Big banks, that's who. Okay. Yeah, banks when a single mother overdraws her account by $3. Banks when they do no risk management and need $50 billion from the government immediately to not blow up the economy. Oops. Go woke, go broke. Banks evaluating you for a $2,000 credit limit. Banks evaluating their own $100 billion bond portfolio. Oh, yeah, and I heard about Lloyd's of London. So they've been in business for 350 years. If you've ever done, if you have a compound interest calculator, just see what would have happened if they had invested $5 at 5% for 350 years, how much money they'd have on that, and then go to $50, then just go to $500, and your calculator will break at that point. She's alive. I found this old picture in my pictures that I kept, my screenshot collection, and it was all these different Hillarys. Like, I remember before all this cloning stuff, well, maybe the cloning stuff was out, but I watched a lot of the DNC speeches, not like all the campaign speeches with Bernie, Hillary, Trump, Cruz. I watched all of them. And I remember I'd see Hillary day to day, and I used to think, bro, she looks different. Like, she looked one way and had like one voice, and then I saw her the next day and she looked different and she had a different voice, and I was like, I wonder if there's more than one Hillary going around. And then I saw this screenshot and I was like, oh man, yeah, look at it. They all don't look the same. Cryptic Triptych leaves some of the best comments. He said, I could produce usable energy from drawing it from the atmosphere, atmospheric energy. Nikola Tesla, Herman Plausen, and Lawrence Rayburn invented devices to accomplish this. Victor Schauberger, T. Townsend Brown knew this as well. Furthermore, Thomas Henry Moray used sealed radioactive salts encased in multiple nested vacuum chambers for portable induction energy. I have studied natural philosophy, how nature works. I know what Claude Shannon knew. However, the binary system is not how it works. That's only 2/3 of the Gnostic understanding.
May the force be with you, and where we go one, we go all.